What is up, guys? Welcome back to Take It to the House. I am Thatcher Patterson. I'm rolling solo today. Zach's been super busy with work over the holiday break, and Elijah's getting ready to move back to Utah. So excited for that. But in the meantime, it's just me this week. So hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season, good Christmas, good New Year's, any other celebrations that you may have had over the time. But back to it this week. So on the docket for the week, we have Russell Wilson situation because we didn't talk about that. We weren't on air last week. What's going on in Denver? That is a crazy situation. So talk about that. Joe Flacco, man, he's on fire. The Browns are in the playoffs. They're still, fighting for a higher seed. So we'll see what happens there. And then, of course, we got to talk about Lamar Jackson. I mean, he is on fire. The Ravens are on fire. And that's funny. I just got a text from Zach saying he can't record. Ravens are on fire, and they just smacked the Dolphins this week. So let's just jump right into it with the Russell Wilson news. So this last week, or my bad, the week before, Russell Wilson was benched. It came out before the game week that Russell Wilson would be benched after they lost to the Patriots on Christmas Eve, excuse me. And then basically it's come out that the Broncos told Russell Wilson to adjust his contract or he'd be benched. So this is per ESPN. Wilson said that after he helped the Broncos to their first win over the Chiefs since 2015, he was approached to adjust the salary guarantee in his contract. And if he didn't, he would be benched for the rest of the year. Now, I would imagine as Russell Wilson, I would say, no, thank you. I'm not going to take that. We don't need that. I'm not going to take a pay decrease, and so he was benched, and the Broncos got the win this weekend, but I wouldn't say it was because of quarterback play. When you look at this situation, it's super interesting because Sean Payton clearly is a different coach now that he's with the Broncos. I've had conversations with a bunch of different people, and he just seems like he's a little unhinged now. He's a little out there. And it seems like he's not afraid to just say what he thinks. And clearly, I don't believe that Sean Payton wanted Russell Wilson when he took the job anyways. My personal feeling is that he probably knew that he'd try to get the best out of him. If he could, great. If not, time to move on. And one thing we know about Sean Payton, me being a Saints fan, he's not afraid of salary cap issues. The Saints notoriously have been in salary cap hell for years now. So I don't think he's afraid to have to, because the reality is the Broncos will still have to pay Russell Wilson. Even if they cut him, he's owed a massive amount of money. And what really bugs me about this situation? It's not Russell's fault, right? It's not Russell's fault that they gave him this contract. It's not his fault that while his play has not been stellar, the money thing is not Russell's problem. That's the Broncos' problem. And, take the money, dude. I don't disagree with him. When you're being threatened, over the last, I believe up until the last couple of weeks, but they had a 9-game stretch where the Broncos were 6-3, beating the Chiefs in one of them and the Bills. So it just sucks, man. And I really wish that Zach were here for this week, but I'm sure we'll talk about it next week. But I want to get his thoughts on that. But when you look at it, it just doesn't sit right? Because Russ has been trying his best. Clearly, it's not enough. Clearly, we know. Now, here's the thing. Here in the Broncos and Sean Payton's defense, we know that Russ isn't the guy anymore. We know that he's not the guy that he was in Seattle. We know he's regressed, right? And so, but that's the risk that you take when you pay a quarterback who's aging, right? We knew that Russ had hit his peak. We knew that he was, he wasn't going to get any better than he was. We'll just say that, right? So now when you look at the situation that they're in, it's just so tricky because, you paid the guy. That's the reality. The reality is you paid the guy, and you brought in a head coach who you thought would be able to elevate him, and he hasn't. Now, I don't blame the Broncos for moving on from Russell Wilson. However, the manner in which that they are doing it really rubs me the wrong way as a football fan. And, it stinks. So now it'll be interesting within the next few weeks. We'll get to have the conversation of are they in the quarterback talk now? Are they going to be looking at a quarterback in the first round, or are they going to roll with Stidham and maybe just surround him with some pieces and say, hey, you know what? Let's just roll it out and then we can go next year? Or do they get somebody in free agency like a Kirk Cousins or something maybe? But we'll just have to wait and see. So that's the Broncos situation. It's just it's a tricky one, man. And as a Saints fan, it makes me grateful that we didn't have a situation like that with Sean Payton in New Orleans. There were some controversial moments. We all know that, but yeah, tough situation for the Broncos this season. So, all right, moving right along. Joe Flacco, guys. I mean, what do we make of that? 37, they beat 37-20 on Thursday Night Football. And Flacco, man, here I'll give you his stats. He was 309, 19-29 for 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. This is without Nick Chubb. This is without Amari Cooper in that game. Joe Flacco's on fire. And it's crazy. Let's be real, right? None of us thought that this would be the case. Nobody thought this. If you would have told Elijah, who's a diehard Browns fan, or you would have told another, hey, by the way, Joe Flacco, he's going to go on a winning streak and you guys will be in the playoffs. And up until the Ravens won this weekend, you have a chance at the number 1 seed in the AFC. Would have thought you were crazy, man. And what's even funnier is the fact that they demolished the Jets, which can anybody tell me where Joe Flacco was last year? That's right, the Jets, they had him in the building. Meanwhile, when you look at, I'm just looking at stats here. Meanwhile, when you look at the other side, you had Trevor Siemian playing for the Jets, 32-45 for 261 yards, a touchdown and a pick. So not great. But no, Joe Flacco on fire, on a heater, on a winning streak. And are the Browns contenders, guys? Like, what do we make of that? Because I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders, me personally. I know Elijah might say differently. But me personally, I don't believe that the Browns are Super Bowl contenders, but I wouldn't be shocked if they ended up in the AFC Championship. Would you? Look at their roster. Other than Nick Chubb being out, right? You got Joe Flacco, who's on fire. You have Kevin Stefanski, who, in my opinion, is the coach of the year. You have Amari Cooper, who's had one of his best seasons as a player in the NFL. And then you still have Jerome Ford stepping up. David Njoku's killing it. You have Myles Garrett. You have all these great corners. Why not? Why not? Why can't the Browns make it far? I mean, I don't really see that. Would you really be shocked? Just ask yourself. Would you be shocked if they go on the road first round in Baltimore and beat them? Would you be shocked? I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. There's no guarantees in the NFL this season. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but there have been some games where you just go, what? And Joe Flacco is making the whole league go, what? So, I love it personally. I love that. First of all, I'm happy for Elijah. I love seeing my friends' teams win, unless it's against my own teams. I love seeing my friends' teams win, and I love seeing my friends be happy. And also, this Browns roster has been a very good roster for how long now? I mean, we're talking Baker Mayfield took this team to the playoffs and probably is, one play away from getting an AFC Championship game, beating the Chiefs, right? So, it's fun. It's fun to see, and I think the Browns deserve a lot of credit. I think Stefanski deserves a lot of credit. They're on their 4th quarterback now. Deshaun Watson, DTR, Joe Flacco, and oh my gosh, who's that other guy? It's bugging me. But point being, you got 4. This is the 4th quarterback they've been on. So, massive credit to them. I really think that the Browns can push far. And it shows too. I think there might be a coaching issue in New York in terms of the Jets. Just pivoting for a minute there. Aaron Rodgers came into the Jets organization And whether he will admit to it or not, he demanded everything. Give me this receiver. I want this player. I want this player. Bring in this coach. He's a good guy. Bring in. How's it working in New York so far? And this defense that's supposed to be so good, led by Robert Saleh, is getting torched by Joe Flacco. I mean, overall, Flacco threw for 309. Jerome Ford rushed for 64. And this is a good defense, and they put up 37 on you. How is this an elite defense? And when you look at the coaching, the offensive coordinator is Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers' best buddy that he loves so much. I know they're missing Aaron Rodgers, right? But when you look at the weapons and players that this Jets offense has, they have to be doing better. They have to be doing better. Trevor Siemian's your starting quarterback. Now, that's neither here nor there, right? Like, we're at the point now where, okay, quarterback play, right? But look at what the Browns are doing with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco wasn't even on a team to start the year. I mean, I think, and then when you go to the defensive side, we're looking at Saleh as this leader of men, this great defensive mind, getting torched by Joe Flacco, getting 37 put up on him. I mean, we can go through the Jets schedule here while we're at it. You get 28 put on you. You did win, but you get 28 put on you by the Commanders in a game that they were going to try to come back. 30 by the Dolphins, 30-0 shutout in that game. And then when you look at their offensive production now too, 0 points against the Dolphins, 8 points against the Falcons, 13 against the Dolphins, 6 against the Bills, 12 against the Raiders, 6 against the Chargers, 13 to win against a bad Giants team, 10 against the Patriots in a loss, 10 against the Cowboys. I think if I'm in charge, it's time to reset the coaching staff. It's time. It's time to move on. You know, it would be one thing for me. Last year was a weird year where we saw the Jets kind of come out of nowhere and their defense was stifling. And they were still managing to win games with Zach Wilson. And now, I mean, again, I'll go through this list one more time while we're at it. In terms of the defense, right? Cowboys, they allowed 30 to the Cowboys, 15 and lost to the Patriots, 23 to the Chiefs, 21 to the Broncos, 27 to the Chargers, 32 to the Bills, 34 to the Dolphins, 30 to the Dolphins, 28 to the Commanders, 37 to the Browns. If your defense was performing well and you're just not getting over that hump because you're your offensive player or the quarterback play, that's fine. You move on from Hackett. But now, is it time to move on from Saleh? Is it time? It's definitely time to move on from Nathaniel Hackett, that's for sure. But is it time to move on from Saleh? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. So that was definitely a side topic there, but I just think it's interesting because the Jets went from this talked about insane team in the offseason to now Jets again. So, but hey, real quick, lots of credit to Joe Flacco and the Browns. Kevin Stefanski, coach of the year, in my opinion. Browns are legit AFC contenders. So, wrapping up today's episode, Lamar Jackson, right, guys? Lamar's insane. I mean, is there really any other word that we can use to describe him? And this is part of why it's kind of funny to not have Elijah here. I'm just trying to pull up the stats from the game. Excuse me. Sorry. There we go. Can we stop this debate of Lamar's not an elite quarterback? Can we stop this running back debate? This idea that he can't throw the ball? Can we stop that, please? Because from what I see, we have an elite quarterback who's good with his legs. That's awesome. Stop calling him a running back. Stop saying he can't throw. Lamar, 18 to 21 for 321 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. Also, Zay Flowers coming out of his, he's killing it. But then when you look at rushing, Lamar had 6 rushes for 35 yards. and they smacked the Dolphins, who many thought, including myself, Super Bowl contenders, maybe AFC contenders. Not when you play like that. 56-19 scoreagami, by the way. That score has never happened in the NFL. 56-19. The Ravens, I think this solidified Lamar is the MVP this year. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I think we have to look at it. Most valuable player, right? Take away Lamar Jackson from this team. Are they 13-3 today? Are they beating the Dolphins 56-19? Are they beating the Dolphins, period? No. No, they're not. I love Tyler Huntley. Go Utes, but it's not. Take away Christian McCaffrey and San Fran. You tell me they're still not winning games. Put a different quarterback in San Fran instead of Brock Purdy. You tell me they're still not winning games. Come on, man. I think you have to look at most valuable player. What does this player mean to this team? It's not even close. Lamar Jackson is a transcendent player. He is incredible. And now say what you will about his playoff production. That's understandable. I get it. But he's about to win his second MVP. He's unstoppable. I mean, I believe that there's only one team in the NFC to ever beat Lamar. And this is because you cannot prepare for him. If you've never played Lamar Jackson, you can't prepare for him. There's just nothing else. Tape does not do him justice. You cannot prepare for Lamar Jackson until you've already played him. This is why division opponents can get the wins over him, but you cannot prepare for what he does on that field. I mean, now obviously we weren't able to record last week, so it's different. It's done now, but taking this for example, the Niners loss, right? The Ravens beating the Niners, and Fred Warner, right? Fred Warner, incredible player, one of the best linebackers to play the game. Invisible in that game. Why? Because the running game and the mix that Lamar can do with his legs, it terrifies defenses. They are praying that Lamar hands the ball off to his receiver when he's really handing it off. Name me one other player that can make those type of players irrelevant. At least right now. I just think what Lamar's doing today is incredible, and they're the number one team in the AFC. The AFC's got to run through Baltimore. Lamar's insane, and I really hope that people stop disrespecting him and stop calling him a running back. And look, he's about to win his second MVP, most likely, and we'll see from there. So, on the flip side of that, before we wrap things up, the Dolphins, man, putting up 19 against the Ravens. Tua, for you, was 22 of 38, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. A-Chain had a good day, 14 carries for 107 yards. Man, I mean, who would have predicted that? I wouldn't have predicted that. And people out there, I thought they would. Yeah, I think that the Ravens probably were going to win that game. Did I think they would clobber this Dolphins team? No. But I think it shows that this Dolphins team cannot be fully taken seriously yet. They just can't. I mean, they beat the Cowboys barely. End of list. End of story. Tell me another good team that the Miami Dolphins have played and beat this year. I can tell you their wins right now. They have beat the Cowboys. They beat the Jets. They beat the Commanders. They beat the Jets. They beat the Raiders. Lost to the Chiefs at a neutral site in Germany. Lost to the Eagles, beat the Panthers, beat the Giants, lost to the Bills, beat the Broncos, beat the Patriots, beat the Chargers. I know that there's this whole idea that a lot of people are like, well, who have they played? But it's getting serious now. We are in crunch time. This is the last week of the season, and your only win against a winning good team is the Dallas Cowboys. And it was a close game. You had to kick a game-winning field goal as time was expiring. Concern for Miami for sure. And it makes you just think, are they too worried about flash and speed and this cool stuff and not concerned about the ground and pound, grind it out type of football? Because I'm telling you right now, looking at these games, I mean, they played the Bills when the Bills were struggling, right? And they lost by 28. And they played the Eagles, who we've now seen getting rocked around a little bit. I'm sure we can talk about that next week if they continue to stumble. You're losing to the Chiefs at a neutral site, which we've seen what the Chiefs have been so far. Not impressive. You lost to the Titans at home. Unacceptable. And then you get clobbered by the Ravens. And they finish out with the Bills this week. If the Bills win, and I believe that if the Bills win this week, it's the Bills division. So it's a bummer. I love watching Miami play. I love Mike McDaniel. He cracks me up, but I think there's real concern here for the Dolphins, and they may not have enough time to fix it. Might be a next year's problem. But anyways, guys, I know this was a way shorter episode this week. It was just me. It was a lot of Thatcher talking, going on rants, rattling off stats. So I appreciate you listening and watching. But yeah, hopefully next week we have the whole gang back. Elijah will be back in Utah next week. Zach should be back. This winter break's just been crazy, man. Elijah, I know, has been super busy getting ready to move back, and Zach's been picking up extra hours, so it's just been crazy. But I had to hop on for y'all and get us an episode out there. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you have a great week, and we will talk to you next time. See ya.